Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I'm Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a post-fight for UFC 251 Masvidal versus Usman for the UFC welterweight title. Post-fight rundown of the main card with afterthoughts, and oh, by the way, I went 5-0 on my predictions on the main card on who would win. So pretty impressed with myself right now about that. Anyhow, so I'll end it with my thoughts on the main event and start off with the fight that kicked off the main card. To kick off the main card, we had a women's flyweight bout with Amanda Hebus versus Paige Van Zant. And like I said on here on my pre-fight, that I felt Hebus' jiu-jitsu was just on a whole nother level. Nothing against Paige, but I felt she was going to get a submission. I think I said second round submission on my pre-fight show. She got a first round submission armbar round one, and it was pretty impressive. I think Hebus is the real deal at flyweight, and I think Paige Van Zant will fit well in Bellator now, and I think possibly a fight with Liz Carmouche in Bellator down the line could be feasible and an interesting, fun fight for fight fans. I think they would both do well in the flyweight division in Bellator, and that would just be a good, fun fight for the fans, for the diehards like us that know what's up. Yeah, anyways, whatever the case with Paige, maybe she stays in the UFC or maybe she goes with another promotion. We'll see, but I think Bellator would be a good fit for her if she doesn't stick with the UFC. Then, and I think Hebus is going to be top contender. Then, in the women's strawweight division, we had Rose Namajunas, former UFC strawweight champ, versus Jessica Andrade, also former UFC strawweight champ. And like many, I felt Rose could have easily won the first fight. She just got caught. And that this fight would just basically be a continuation of the first fight, with Rose winning on strikes, ultimately nudging her out. And sure enough, that's what happened. She beat Jessica Andrade, split decision. I think it should have been at least 29-28 unanimous decision. Maybe Andrade won a round, but I got at least 2 out of 3 rounds for Rose easily. And yeah, just it was a good, fun fight. Got you on your kept you on your toes, so to speak. So good job for Rose, and I think Rose is either title shot ready or one win away from a title shot at this point in the women's strawweight division. Then in the bantamweight division, we had, for the UFC bantamweight title, Petr Yan versus Jose Aldo. And you know what? So people said that there's some people that think that Aldo got robbed in the Marlon Moraes fight, and I think Aldo did not earn this title shot. He did legitimately lose to Marlon Moraes, and Petr Yan, I knew, was just going to devour Aldo, and pretty much he won almost every round, if not every round, leading up to the finish. And yeah, it was TKO punches, 5th round win for Yan. And let me show you the stats on the Marlon Moraes fight. So here we go. Let me show you this. Okay. So that is your stats for Aldo versus Moraes. And as you can clearly see, the blue was for Moraes and red was for Aldo. Or, yeah, no, red Marias, blue Aldo. Yeah, and Marias won rounds 1 and 3 clearly based off stats. So Aldo did not earn this title shot, and I think that Aldo either needs to retire or just takes a couple, 2-3 tune-up fights, win those, and then we'll see where he's at. But anyways, that's my thoughts on that fight. Then in the co-main event in the UFC featherweight division for the UFC featherweight title, we had Alexander Volkanovski defending against Max Holloway. This one, I think, was a robbery based on stats. Holloway won the first 3 rounds. Volkanovski won the last 2 rounds. And yeah, it's just one of those things where the judges got it wrong, and it was a split decision win for Volkanovski. But it was a close fight still, and it was a fairly fun, interesting fight. Some good strikes landed on both sides, and pretty much stayed standing the entire time. And yeah, Alexander Volkanovski is going to be hard to beat. Then in the main event in the welterweight division for the UFC welterweight title, we had Kamaru Usman versus the champ versus Jorge Masvidal, the BMF champ. And this one was pretty much what I said on my pre-fight show, that Usman would outland Masvidal on takedowns and grind him up against the cage and you know, just pummel him, you know, basically for 5 rounds, and that's what he did. And the first round looked like maybe it was for Masvidal. You know, he landed some good strikes on the bottom when he got taken down, and then he you know, landed some good strikes in stand-up, some good heavy shots that looked like maybe have rocked Usman. However, Usman from rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5 was all Usman, and he looked amazing. In terms of dominating, was it the most entertaining fight? No. Was a good clean win for Usman? Yes. And I think Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman is going to be a great fight, and Gilbert's going to have a way better chance at beating Usman than Masvidal did. And I think if Colby Covington can snatch a win, he'll be a good rematch for Usman as well. So there you have it. There's my thoughts on this, and yeah, this was a fun card, and props to Davey Grant in the bantamweight division on the prelims, defeating Martin Day. That was a great knockout in round 3, KO punches. So there were some standout performances on this card throughout. It was a hit and miss card. You had some boring matches and some really fun, exciting matches, and just overall good card. So that wraps up my post-fight show. Stay tuned for my pre-fight show for Kattar vs. Ige, UFC Fight Night, my pre-fight show for that in the coming days. And until then, as always, see ya.